No, all right. I hope I didn't give you too much to.
No, we're good. It's good. We're all good. I'm using your phone and
Right.
my tablet to see if I notice a difference.
No, I'm not. The tech on the technical end, but also on the. We're giving away a lot of stuff tonight. We've got that poster from McCook. We've got.
Taco stuff.
Yeah. So we'll get to that. It's 6 o'clock. I'm ready to roll. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm just got a little. Okay, here we go.
Hi, you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. We'll be right back.
We gotta pray, Rick. We gotta
after this
pray.
prayer.
Good evening, everyone. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. I am your host, Joe Abbate. Thank you for joining me tonight. We've got an action-packed show. We've got videos from Terry Good, from Roger Neff. We've got some great stuff from Dave Boydston again, as well as we are just weighed down with stuff that we are going to give away today. I will let the lovely hostess tell you about it immediately. Susie.
Yeah.
How you doing tonight, babe?
I'm good.
Yeah, you're up walking. You're rolling commercial free now, huh?
Rolling my own volition. Yeah.
That's good. What do you got going on this show?
I have this beautiful poster that we're giving away for trivia tonight. Tonight we have trivia night.
Right.
Trivia night. And then we have, of course, What's It Worth? We're giving away stickers. And then View Appreciation, we have some bull tacos.
Oh, stuff from Steve Grandis and Bull Taco East.
Right.
So, okay, we got Bull Taco East stuff. We have the poster from Mike McCook and a lot of other cool stuff too.
Yeah.
Stickers for the What's It Worth.
Poster?
Yeah, I can see the poster. Yeah, I can.
Oh, okay.
In fact, you know what I might do here just a second? Why don't I do this? So yeah, people can see that.
Okay.
They know what it is. Very famous photograph by Charlie Morey of Jimmy Weiner and Tony DeStefano.
Yeah.
So we will.
It's a good looking poster.
It sure is, and there's not many of them left. So that's back from 2004, I think. In the meantime, I want to thank our sponsors who make the show possible. Racer X, who actually is on the cover or made that the cover of their magazine. The International Motocross Museum Motion Pro. Bull Taco East. Thank you, Steve Grandis. Sirius Studios. I posted a video about Sirius Studios on the Vintage Motocross Q&A page. Vinco. Keep the ride going. Preston Petty Products. Full Circle Racing, our longest sponsor. I talked to Tom McAllister today. And he is our longest running sponsor. Full Circle Racing, of course. In the show description, there's a link to our PayPal account. If you'd like to make a donation in any amount, we would appreciate it, no matter how much it is. Thank you, Steve Bauer and Kurt Flash from Trail Rider Magazine. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, Brap Suspension, Roger Neff, the Moto Fellowship Show with Steve Wise every Tuesday night at 5:30. These are the people that help make the show possible. These are the boots on the ground sharing the show every week. Al Keith, Tyler McGregor, and so many more. I am about to work out all the kinks in the deal between Joe Sapienza and myself and 428 Concepts to have them come on as a sponsor, excuse me, for being a pipe builder. I'll be talking to Joe tomorrow. Thank you, Dave Boydston, AMS. And, of course, don't forget, follow Dave Boydston on Facebook. Always a lot of cool stuff to see there. I got a new display coming up. You'll never see shirts folded up like this again. We have a new grid with new shirts in new colors. In fact, what new colors do we have?
Oh,
Dun, dun, dun. Look what him is wearing. Him has a new shirt on. Him.
I love that yellow shirt.
We got it in yellow now. We're going to have it in green, blue. We're going to have a special one coming out in white. But with all the red, see where it's all red here? It's going to be in pink. All right?
I do tanks, too.
Yeah, we're going to do tanks. We're going to do it in pink for the ladies and for the guys who think they're ladies. Let's cover that these days as well. The cartoon shirt created by Kurt Evans. We'll have those available. And what do we got going on here? That's what I mentioned a little bit ago. Trivia returns tonight with this 18 by 24 poster. compliments of Mike McCook. Don't forget to keep sharing the show, whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube. We'll be giving away a lot of cool stuff a little bit later on in the show. Right now, we've got a next time try this segment for you. I think you're going to like it. It's a little bit older.
Next time try this segment, we're going to take a look at something
about.
called twist rivets. Twist rivets. Now, these are really great when you want to do a very professional job when you're powder coating or painting your frame. What you want to do first, of course, is get off that ID tag that's on the front of your frame. This is, of course, very popular on a lot of Hondas, and I know on Makos as well. You got that identification tag up front that looks just like this. Now, you want to be able to get that off, and you want to be able to salvage it to put it back on the bike after you've either powder coated it or painted it. The first thing you want to do is get the tag off your bike. In order to do that, you're going to need a little spring-loaded center punch like this and a very, very fine drill. Okay, one just about the size of the head that's on the rivet in there right now. You're going to want to drill it out, mark it with the center punch first, and then you're going to want to drill it out and preserve that ID tag. When you get them out, they're going to look like this. A piece is going to fall off down inside of your steering stem section of your bike. You're going to want to get that out of there. You're going to take those broken pieces and you're going to throw them away, okay? You're going to probably have to drill the hole a little bit bigger because the twist rivets that you're going to buy are going to be about 2 millimeters in width, okay? So you might have to drill them out a little bit. You can shop around. You can find twist rivets just about any place. You usually buy them in a bag very inexpensively. You can't really buy them 1, 2, or 4 at a time. But you can buy the ID plate. I've seen that on a very popular auction site. And you can get the twist rivets in many, many different places. Now, another tip is once you get your plate off the bike, or if you've purchased a new plate, you're going to want to bend it around something so it fits around the frame. You may not want to bend it around your frame. You might want to bend it around something that is off the bike, maybe a lower fork leg or the chrome stanchion tube of your bike. You want to bend it around there to get it into a nice shape before you put it back on the frame. Another tip is that you could use something like this called Stick and Seal by Loctite. Before you gently tap in those twist rivets, you're going to want to apply a little of this Stick and Seal to the back of that plate. Make sure it's lined up right there in the center of your head tube of your frame. Then you can proceed putting your twist rivets in there. Next slide, Jordan. Oh, there it is. And it should look just like that when you're done. Twist rivets. Look it up on Google. You can buy them in a variety of places. They also come in not only zinc plated, but they come in stainless steel as well. I would recommend you get the stainless steel ones. And after your frame is all powder coated and or painted, you can reapply your identification number plate just like that. It'll look just as good as new. Next time, try that.
We'll be right back with more Vintage Motocross Q&A.
Hello, this is Donnie Hanson. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A, and we'll be right back.
Vinco, who already has a full line of vintage parts, now has air shocks that are an exact duplicate of the original air shocks so popular in the late 70s. So whether you're looking to build a full racer or museum showpiece, these shocks will give you that incredible 70s look and improve your bike's performance. These new air shocks are fully rebuildable with Vinco rebuild kits, and all shocks are hand assembled in the USA with all new components. Every component is brand new. Just like the originals, our air shocks are adjustable with 2 chambers, high and low pressure, giving you tremendous flexibility for settings of your bike suspension. The Vinco air shocks come fully assembled and ready for installation. Just add air or nitrogen. The kits include the manual and spacers. Visit Vinco.com to check out the air shocks and all that Vinco has to offer to help you get back on track and keep that ride going.
Be sure to visit them online at Vinco.com. They have over 1,000 products in their catalog. That's Vinco.com. Thank you, Derfs. That's Fred Hudgens. And, of course, Emsoil. Thank you, Russell Waters, longtime supporter of the show, one of our first sponsors going back 3 or 4 years ago. As I mentioned a little bit ago, our latest supporter, product sponsor of the show, Mike McCook. Be sure to visit him at his really interesting page on Facebook, Motorcyclist Illustrated. Pretty much anything that has 2 wheels on it, street bikes, off-road bikes, dual purpose. Mike's been involved in motorcycling for many, many years, and just an all-around great guy and a fabulous enthusiast. Also gave us the posters for the show. What's It Worth is brought to you by Full Circle Racing. Be sure to visit Tom McAllister online at fullcircleracing.com. Tonight we're going to take a look at really nice bike, one of my favorites, a favorite of everyone, the 1981 Mako 490 Mega 2. This is, of course, this part of the show where you guess how much the bike is worth, and we will give you two beautiful stickers, compliments of Susie and Vintage Motocross Q&A. The 1981 Mako 490 is said to have been refurbished under previous ownership, and it has been on static display for approximately 6 years. Finished in red and yellow graphics, the motorcycle is equipped with an air-cooled 488cc two-stroke single that has reportedly been modified with a reed valve cylinder and a Mikuni carburetor. It also features a 5-speed transmission, a kickstarter, a custom fabricated expansion chamber, a leading link axle on the front fork, Olin's piggyback reservoir rear shocks, laced wheels that are finished in gold anodizing. It has drum brakes back and front. It has a vinyl upholstered seat, has serrated foot pegs, and high-mounted fenders. I do believe that is an aftermarket pipe on the bike. The Mega 2 is offered in Ohio on a bill of sale only. Suspension consists of leading axle fork, red finished lowers, in addition to a pair of Olin's piggyback reservoirs attached to the swing arm. The air-cooled 488cc two-stroke single has reportedly been modified with a reed valve. Why they repeat this twice in this listing, I don't know. It also has a Mikuni carburetor and has a custom fabricated expansion chamber. I did see some other things on this bike that were did look rather interesting. I think the fork or the triple clamps have a special finish on them. I'm not really sure. It definitely has an aftermarket brake pedal and a chain guide. In one of the other pictures that I saw, maybe it was one of the other pictures that I haven't added yet, it had a billet looking, not billet looking, it was an aluminum billet backing plate. I think it had one on the front and one on the bike, one on the back. A beautiful looking motorcycle, very sought after, one of the best race bikes, they say, ever in the history of motocross. How much do you think it recently sold for? Fully refurbished or rebuilt or restored, call it what you will. This is one beautiful motorcycle. How much do you think it went for? I'm going to tell you this. These bikes back in the heyday, 2008, we're going for 18 grand. How much do you think somebody paid for this one? 5? 7? 11? You think the rip-roaring 2000s are back and somebody went for over 15 G's on this? Bike was a bargain. A bargain at $9,700. Wow. $9,700 for a beautiful 81 Mako 490. If you could tell me, Susie, who got closest without going over at $9,700. In fact, this was a bring a trailer, so I think Charlie Bagley?
Said 9,500.
That is the closest without going over. Is that what you see?
That's what I see.
Charlie Bagley. Email me your full mailing address. I'll get you a couple of stickers, compliments of Susie and Vintage Motocross Q&A. Okay? We've got a lot more coming up on Vintage Motocross Q&A, including the viewer appreciation part of the show. The trivia section is coming up in just a little bit. We'll have a lot more at Vintage Motocross Q&A. In the meantime, my buddy Jerry Maddox is going to jump in here with a couple of words about Full Circle Racing. Jerry?
I get asked often, what's the most important thing on Clunker? Answer simple, it's me. That's why I use Full Circle Racing wheels prepped by Tom McAllister. So should you. Watch this and learn why. When racing vintage motocross where suspension is very limited, your wheels can be the difference between winning or serious injury. We chose to run Full Circle Racing wheels because of the super high quality materials and the heavy duty spokes used. Prepped by Tom McAllister, I have the confidence on the track to push way harder through the rough stuff and the bigger jumps, knowing my wheels are going to stay under me. Hey, Clunker may be 50 years old, but his wheels are brand new, and yours should be too. Call Tom McAllister at Full Circle Racing today.
All right. I want to thank Jerry Maddox for making that video for us. And of course, Tom McAllister, for all his years of support for us here at Vintage Motocross Q&A. I can see names over here of people that are watching the show. Hello, Lee Miller, John Caccavalli, George Camacho. I hope you got your stickers. Vintage mini bike lovers on the scene. Alan Huie, got a question coming up from you a little bit later on. There's Charles Bagley, Tyler McGregor. Is he ever not here? George Ackerman, Eric Weiss. Thank you all so much for joining us here tonight at Vintage Motocross Q&A. Don't forget to keep sharing the show. Now, as promised just a bit ago, I did say I was going to bring you trivia. And guess what? It's here, and we're doing it right now. That's for this beautiful 18 by 24 poster of Jim and Jimmy Weiner and Tony DeStefano. And trivia. You ready, guys? Here it comes.
Here she comes. I'm ready.
He was too young to apply for a pro AMA license, so he claimed he was his neighbor, Dale Burton. He actually took Dale Burton's ID, went down there, filled out the form, mailed it into the AMA, and got a professional license. Who is he? I actually got to meet Dale Burton not too long ago. Very funny story. Who was it that used Dale Burton's identification to get a pro license to race before he was 18? You type in your answer. We are going to move on right now, and I'm sure we'll get back to that in just a minute. But we got Dave's Classic Corner. I love this new segment of the show, Dave's Classic Corner. It is, of course, brought to you by Dave Boydston and AMS out there in Arizona. Dave, a big supporter of all forms of racing throughout many years. He's been a coordinator of many races. He's also been, AMA coordinator, not an AMA, an ARMA regional coordinator. And he opened up his own group, the Arizona Desert Race, huge event every year, and does so much more. So let's see what Dave's got for us this week in Dave's
One of
Classic
my favorites. Did this bike about 2.5 years ago. This is in 1965, 66. Second version of the twin pipe 250 CZ. First version probably would have had a magnesium engine, and second set of serial numbers would have started with a 1. These start with a 2. This still has the fiberglass front fender, different shape. It's got the small gas tank with the unique gas cap on it. That's fiberglass. It's got the alloy air box on it. It does not have the aprons on the seat. Twin pipes never had them. This is the heavy valance fiberglass plates that were on this year's bike. Up through side pipers. They still didn't have folding foot pegs. Those look good. Look good in their ankle. Chrome steel rims. Still has a one-piece rear fender on it. All the way around. Doesn't join at the back. Probably after a bunch of looping of that, they made it into a two-piece fender. Full carburetor. Big long intake manifold on this thing. Cast iron cylinder. Aluminum head. 2 spark plug holes, but only 1 spark plug. 2 exhaust pipes. Very unique looking engine there. Cylinder comes off without the carburetor having to come off. The carburetor is bolted to the engine cases. Early twin ports had different fork legs. You don't have a extruded bead right here. This brake plate is actually smaller and goes over this lip on the next ones too. Again, you got the fat bead number plate, the fixed levers, stock CZ throttle levers. That is the early gas cap. They use an air vent and put it right through there. This is the second version of the bike around 1965, 66, 250 twin piper.
Thank you, Dave Boydston, for bringing us another great bike this week. And that is, of course, Dave's Classic Corner, brought to you by Dave Boydston. You can get a hold of Dave at that phone number right there if you want to speak to Dave about getting some parts. Also, follow him on Facebook. A lot of great information coming from Dave Boydston. Mike McCook. It is not Claudine Longet. It is not Anne Margaret. That is not who it was. And some other guys out there guessing Jeff Ward, Warren Reed, and Marty Tripes. It is not any of those guys. Susie says she has a winner.
Yeah.
Who is it?
It's Edward Brechka.
Right, Edward Brechka. He's been around a little while. Eddie's been tuning in every week. I see his name on the list, and he's good. It's good to have a new winner. And Ed says it is who?
Gary Semix.
I'm Gary Semix, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A with Joe Abbate.
Ed Brechka, congratulations. The answer is Gary Semix. And last year at the Potomac Vintage Riders Banquet, I was walking around talking to a bunch of guys there from, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey. Ran into a gentleman, a little bit of an older guy, had his name thing on there, the sticker, Dale Burton. I said, "Are you the Dale Burton who was the neighbor of Gary Semix way back when?" And it was. And he told the story just exactly how I have heard it. So, yeah, Ed, congratulations. Get me your mailing address. Send it to my personal private message. Get me your mailing address, and I will get you that beautiful poster. That thing is absolutely here. You want to see two of the most beautiful things in the room? I'll show you. Look at that. My wife and that poster. There it is. All right. Ed Brushka, congratulations on winning that poster. All right. Moving on with Vintage Motocross Q. I'll put it in a tube and I'll mail it.
Oh.
Sue, come on. What's it worth? Brought to you by Motion Pro for all your tools, cables, and controls. And when you want to do a job professionally and get it done quickly, you go to Motion Pro, motionpro.com. Question number 1 comes in this week from Tyler McGregor. Joe Abbate, here's my question. I've seen a few wheels now, Honda mostly, and some NOS spoke sets I have. They have little washers that go between the spoke nipple and the rim. I think I know the purpose of them, but I'd like to know if I'm right. Also, when rebuilding an original wheel, is it good practice to reuse them on the original rim? What if you replace the spoke and nipple, but use the original rim? Well, first of all, that little washer that you see right here, a little cup washer, goes between your steel nipple, if you happen to have steel nipples in your application, and an aluminum rim. I recommend you replace them. They're only about 10 cents a piece. So I'm sorry, they're about 30 cents a piece. So if you have a 36 or a 40 hole rim, what's it going to cost you? $9, $12, and you have something brand new there, matches the new spokes and the new nipples. I recommend this for another reason. Your nipples are going to be steel more than likely. The rim you are using is probably going to be aluminum. You have heard me use the term before, corrosion through dissimilar metals. That is when the oxidizing of the aluminum bites into the rust of the steel. They kind of weld each other together, and that's what oftentimes makes it very difficult to get an old nipple off of a spoke. So for $9 or $12, it is good to replace them. It is good to use the lubrication that they give you with it when you put them together. And there is some movement, no matter how tight you lace up a wheel, there is a fraction. You go through a turn, you're hitting ruts while you're leaned over or something like that. And that's a great way to further protect the spoke, the nipple, and the rim. Hopefully that is the reason why you think that you're supposed to use those as well. I got this question late in the day today. I told Alan that I would try and squeeze it in, and I have. Joe, question for the show. What was the advantage of inverted forks? Inverted forks, there was no advantage. There still is no advantage of them. Some rich kid from Mountain View named Steve Simons went to college and he thought he was an engineer. Put some forks together upside down, and everybody bought it, hook, line, and sinker, including Lackey, putting them on his Suzuki. Okay. The advantage to those forks are, number one, foremost, rigidity. They are so much bigger in the top triple clamps. They're like 54 millimeters at this point on this bike back in 1982. Okay. They're longer. They have less of a tendency to flex. We've all been on CR 125s and older bikes that had those little spindly 30, 32, 34 millimeter forks. If you hit some whoops or you came down really hard on a jump, you bend the forks. You see guys turn them around between motos to bend them back the other way. That went out the window when Steve Simons, of course, came up with the genius idea to put upside down forks together. Longer springs, better shim stacks, more rigidity. The axle is more secure at the bottom. Overall, just an amazing feat that went on after 1982 in Brad Lackey's World Championship. You want me to share a little inside story with you? You're only going to get this here. First of all, you can hear the story. You can confirm it if you go over to Vintage Motocross Q&A, click on pictures, click on albums, go to the purple picture that says all interviews, and then go to the Steve Simons interview. Steve comes up with this idea. Brad takes the world by storm in 1982. And next thing you know, KTM has an upside down fork. It wasn't long after that, Steve noticed that Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, Kawasaki, they were all going toward that. He thought about suing them. And his attorney said, don't sue them. Don't sue them until they all do it. Steve waited well into the 90s and then had a sit down in Japan with all the bigwigs over a dinner about the upside down forks. Steve walked out of there an extremely wealthy man with no lawsuit. And the Japanese did something they never do. They all sit down, spoke to each other about what they had done, and they figured it's either we're falling on our sword and we're not going to have any upside down forks, or we're going to pay this guy what he wants. And they paid him. Steve Simons, not just some kid from Mountain View. That segment is brought to you by Motion Pro. Be sure to visit them online at motionpro.com. Get 20% off across the board when you check out and put in MP9135. That's MP9135. I want to thank Russell Waters for his longtime commitment to the show. Russell Waters and AMSOIL, not just oil, so many other great lubricants and things for your cars, trucks, and motorcycles that AMSOIL offers. And I'm still running a special. You want to get your name up on the board, $49.95. You'll get a shirt from Vintage Motocross Q&A, and you'll get four products, compliments of Russell Waters and AMSOIL. Okay. Last week I brought you a new segment. It was called Works for Me. Once again, you're not going to see this anywhere. Works for Me is brought to you by Terry Good and the International Motocross Museum. This week, Terry and I were talking. In fact, it was early this morning before we had shaven or even just about had coffee. But we were talking about the swing arm on this 1978 RH250 that was ridden by Roger DeCoster. That is one long, tall motorcycle. And you know what? You see how long the forks are on that bike? Think about the flex that would be in those tubes compared to the upside down fork we were just talking about a moment ago. But I digress. We are talking now to Terry Good about the swing arm on this bike right here. As they say, let's cut to the chase and see what Terry and I. Thank you for joining me again this week for this segment of It Works for Me. Last week, it was a huge success with the carburetor we were talking about. And this week, we've got a swing arm. So number one, thank you for being here.
Sure. Glad to be here. It's an honor.
The swing arm is from, well, you know what? I'll bring up some pictures and you could tell us what the bike's from. And then we'll just have some dialogue on what it is, because I looked at the pictures and there's a lot going on here for just a swing arm. So tell us, what was this bike from? What was this swing arm from?
This would go to the RN78. So that would be the 1978 Works Suzuki 500 class bike.
Okay. And the arm itself is aluminum, but there's a lot more going on there. And you've sent me some great pictures. And I want to go over each one because there's like a little story behind every one of them. Let's start right here. What appears to be a regular chain adjuster from the visual of it, but it's not your everyday production chain adjuster. What is this thing made of? How thick is it? Tell us a little bit more.
Okay, the chain adjuster itself is steel. The collar that you see and the large nut.
Yeah.
Those are both made out of titanium, and that design goes all the way back to the earliest Works Suzukis that Joël Robert and Sylvain Gabors rode, and Ole Petersen. And that's titanium. And so the idea is that you could change the rear wheel and all the spacers and everything would stay in place. As you can see there's a collar that goes through. And by the way, that piece of aluminum that they go through, that's a big block of billet that is.
I think I have a shot of Well, you could kind of see it here
Yeah.
in the adjuster that's closest to us in the picture. You can
Right.
see how thick the aluminum is around that adjuster.
Yes, very thick. And so you could change the axle and all that would stay in place, as you can see it in place now. And then once you put the axle through, the threads would stick out far enough for an aluminum nut to go on top of the titanium nut to cinch everything. And you know, with the rear wheel, especially a magnesium rear wheel, titanium bearing spacer, all that stuff, you don't tighten them too tight. You know, it's all designed just spot on. And the bolts that go through and adjust the chain for the chain length, those are titanium. And yes, those are titanium. And then you can see the swing arm, like there, I think we're looking at the left arm of the swing arm, and you can see that it's all hollow there.
Yes.
That aluminum.
You can. Yeah, sure.
The neat thing about these parts is the sum of all these parts obviously makes up the works bike. But the really just incredible thing about these things is the craftsmanship. You know, now you see a red hub that was probably machined CNC. It's a nice little color red. And it's got the little sticker on it of the guy's number. You know, it's just, you know, and a cute little sticker kit on the bike. But back when these things were made, some guys designed this in a design room. Hirohide Tamaki, by the way, was the guy's name. And somebody sweated over this part. And each one of those weld beads is made by a person with a name. And there's just a soul about this that you don't see in the newer stuff. And that's what's so cool about it. And the other thing is these bikes were so high tech at the time and so specialized, handmade, every little part made just to be that part. And the parts were changed so frequently. So a lot of these, there's so many spares, and you know, that's kind of how I guess Roger had so many spares is there was so many. And the service life on these parts, you know, I don't know how often they changed a swing arm, but it was frequent. And
one of the things that caught my eye when you talk about intricate detail, a man designing something, and a lot of time going into it is this part right here. This chain guide, there's so much going on here that when I first looked at it, I thought, okay, I sort of get it. But then I started to look at their actual marks on it, the titanium. Is this a stamped part to begin with, Terry? Tell us a little bit more about this.
It is. It's a stamped steel part.
Yeah.
But it's just custom bent, drilled. If you can see, you've got you kind of see a V shape to it. Well, notice how the part of the V that's on the right, how it intersects with the part of the V that's on the left. Now, keep in mind, this was handmade, stamped. Look at how tight everything is there. And it's a handmade part that no one would ever see. It was just designed to keep the chain, you know. This bike is the bike that had the too much suspension, the 1460 millimeters of travel or 14 inches of travel. Yeah, that was this one. And you can also see in the bracket on the right, you can see where they scribed where they drilled the holes for the two bolts.
Yes.
And then the light.
I don't know if the viewers at home can see that, but when we look real close or blow up the picture, there are actually scribes going across. In other words, the the piece on the right-hand side, you got the bolt on top, bolting it to the swing arm. Then there are 2 bolts underneath that. Those 2 bolt marks are where you see the nuts. There are scribe marks on there that these things were drilled with such incredible accuracy. It's just unreal.
It really is. And you can see where the guy that made the part on the left piece kind of took a little grinder, where there was some probably slag, from drilling it through. Yes. And just to clean it up, the burrs or what have you. But and then the brackets that whole piece is bolted to, those are aluminum machined out of billet by hand again, and heliarc to the swing arm. And I don't think I sent you a rear view of this, but you just see how everything. And if you unbolted this, it would just slide right into place. There's no right. beating it in there or anything like that.
Here's another piece I really liked, Terry. This, I imagine, is to protect the chain from slapping against the shock.
No, that is to keep the rear brake cable.
Rear brake cable. Okay.
From going into the shock. And that's just an aluminum piece cut out, by hand. And then you can see a pop rivet there. By the way, this swing arm is brand new. I've been going through these boxes of Rogers, still opening boxes, and this thing was brand new in the box. And I thought, wow, look at this. It even has the gray or the tan Okamoto Japanese duct tape. Yeah, there's some Japanese writing. I don't know what that means. Look at the brackets. Look at the braces there. How they overlap the right and left part of the arm and the cross member there.
And then they're welded after they overlap.
They overlap, and then they're welded to a curved piece. Instead of when you see like a DG swing arm, it's just, a triangle kind of welded in there. Well, this is much more than that. And it's just amazing when you look at these parts and you start studying them.
This looks like.
That's a shock
Go ahead,
mount.
Terry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Are we going back to this picture?
No, I was just saying when you start when I took the swing arm out of the box, I looked at it and I probably went over it for over an hour, just closely looking at it. And I'm like, man, not only the guys sweat making it by hand, cutting each little piece and welding it and all that, but just designing this thing. And it's really incredible to these bikes and these parts. Now this here, that's a shock mount.
Okay.
There's a titanium bolt in the middle. And then over the titanium bolt, you see a chromoly steel sleeve, very thin sleeve. And then right to the left of that in this photo, you see an aluminum spacer. So that spacer will locate that shock exactly in the right place on the swing arm. And that little thin steel sleeve goes over the titanium bolt. So it's still a very lightweight part. And yet the strength of that steel sleeve adds to the whole thing. It's quite a big deal I've never seen this before.
Another picture here. I don't know if it's really. Oh.
Yeah, there you see.
I guess you're a chain buffer. It's still.
Yeah, it's a chain buffer out of super slick. I wouldn't say it's just nylon. When you touch it, man, it's super slippery. And then obviously, since this was a brand new part, they didn't want dust getting into the bearing in there where the swing arm pivot goes through. But all the spacers, and I have more of these swing arms, by the way, ones that have been used, and that's all titanium behind that duct tape.
you have more of these swing arms from 78, or were they? You know what,
Yeah.
Terry? I'm going to ask you a question, and I think I sort of know the answer to it. But they complained that the 78 bike was so tall. I think Eric Walsink went back to the 77 bike in 78.
You know, I'd heard that too. I've never asked him that, but if he does, I think he watches your show actually, which is kind of neat. But maybe he could chime
I think
in.
he does. And when I interviewed him, he actually did say something about that. So there we have it. Hey, you know what, Terry? Everybody's going to want to know this question. How much does this thing weigh, do you think?
Just over 7 pounds complete. And that's light for something like that. Very light.
It sure is.
Yeah.
I want to thank Terry Good from the International Motocross Museum for joining me again this week. Terry, while I've got you here, I saw a post from you last night on Facebook, and it says something about opening in 2025.
Yeah, we're working so hard on it, and you're part of the team, Joe. So, and somebody responded, the wise guys, I just kick them out. I just boot them immediately. But we're doing the best we can. If you don't like this museum, you can go to the one down the street. Good luck finding it.
Yeah.
But
That'll be the day.
Yeah, we're here real soon. I have appointments scheduled with them. We do have you and I both talk about this, and Mike Secor is doing a fabulous job.
Yes.
With the artwork and the graphics design, and he's just amazing. So that's the plan, is to open this year, later in the year. But we'll have some type of an opening, and hopefully you'll be living in Chicago at that time, Joe. And all will be good.
I hope so. Hey, Terry, next week, can we do a little segment? I've always been fascinated by the front hub of the RHs and the RNs with that reinforcement rim, reinforced. Yeah. I'd like to have that next week. Can we do that? You got it. We'll do it. I appreciate it. Terry Good from the International Motocross Museum. Terry, thank you so much for joining me, and talk to you again real soon. Okay. Thanks, Joe. See you next week. Thank you. Let me ask you guys, you think that segment is a little too long at 10 minutes? I could cut it, show you the rest on the page the next day, or is it just delicious and you want all you can while it's there? Leave a message. Let me know what you think. I think that 10 minutes goes pretty quick when you're talking about rare parts like that. We'll be right back.
It's Donnie Hansen. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A, and we'll be right back.
Motocross struck America, coming from Europe like a lightning bolt, striking the hearts and minds of people all across the country and the world. Battles of intense racing and cutting rivalries with loyalty to brands and heroes intensified as years of blood, sweat, and dirt flew through the minds of those memories of champions as they wrestled their machines through almost impossible tracks. But where are those past champions? And where are their bikes? Terry Good, an ex-pro motocross racer, has made it his life mission to honor these heroes and the bikes they rode to stardom. We raced, we rode, we lived and breathed motocross. Go back in time and relive those moments, now preserved for the first time ever in the world's first museum dedicated to the history of motocross. Our new building is in the gate. Help us get a great start and you can be part of history. Go to internationalmotocrossmuseum.org and become a part of our team.
The International Motocross Museum is a not-for-profit 501c3 organization. Be sure to visit them online at internationalmotocrossmuseum.org. Get over there and buy some swag. It is all 100% tax deductible. In the Moto Showcase tonight, which is brought to you by Preston Petty Products, we take a look at something a little bit different. I want to thank my friend Frank DeVideo. Frank DeVideo, a nice Facebook friend, not so much into the moto stuff, but he's there and he is an enthusiast. Got a wonderful family, always make great posts on Facebook. Last night when I was asking the world to send me a Moto Showcase bike, Frank said, I don't know if this is going to fit, but I've got a Kawasaki 73 F7. I think you'd like the story. I think you'd like the pictures. I love the story. We all got started on dual purpose bikes. Yeah, maybe some of us were out there on that Hodaka Super Rat, but a lot of us had those little Yamaha, Suzukis, and Hondas. We took the lights off, and that was our first foray into the sport of motocross. So without further ado, Frank DeVideo, thank you for sending this into us. Let's get a look at it. Gary Morgan purchased this bike new. He was a race car driver and employee of Kodak. Gary still holds the record at Watkins Glen for the most wins. He gave the bike to close family friend Rick Bruinsma about 5 years ago. And Rick began the restoration. He began to rebuild it. He immediately went to work looking for the hard-to-find parts. Unfortunately, Gary Morgan passed away in November of 2023. By the way, Rick has the new factory horn for this bike and a spare set of fenders. As you can see, this bike is in absolutely beautiful condition, a wonderful-looking little Kawasaki F7. And get this, there it is, the bill of sale to Gary Morgan in 1972. This bike was $699. Put a deposit down of $47.93, and I guess he went home with it a week or so later. Got himself a little Kawasaki service card with that, and just a lot of nice little memorabilia and provenance to go along with this bike. Sweet little machine. I want to thank you, Frank DeVideo. Now, Frank DeVideo, you sent it in. You got the pictures. It was Rick Bruinsma who actually owns the bike. So I'll tell you what, guys. If you both send me your address, or Frank, you get me Rick's address, private message them both to me, I'll get you something nice from Vintage Motocross Q&A and some of our sponsors, maybe Bultaco East or somebody else. But we'll get you something nice for sending in that bike. And for the viewers out there who are watching, don't be afraid to send in a bike that's a little bit, just a little bit outside the box, so to speak. They are dirt bikes. They were dual-purpose bikes. And if it was important to you and something special, especially something like this where, it's a sad situation. The guy passed away, but you had the original bill of sale from 50 years ago. It makes a great story, and it gives everybody a warm, fuzzy feeling. Susie is waving me down because she has the viewer appreciation winner. Who is that, Suze?
That would be John.
Yes.
Cacabal.
John Cacabal.
Yeah.
John Cacabal, get me your mailing address. I will get you some special stickers and bangles, bobs, and bows from our newest sponsor and all-around great guy, Steve Grandis. We'll get you some Bultaco stickers, some AMA stickers. How do you feel about hot sauce? You want some hot sauce?
Hot sauce?
I got some hot sauce in there. You got some Bultaco stickers. And let me know. You know what? Let me know whether you want Honda, Mako, Montesa, or Pettin stickers. And John Cacabal.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching the show. Thank you for sharing it. And welcome to the Vintage Motocross Q&A family. What do I have coming up next? I do want to thank. Oh, no. Whoa. Here's what I want to do. I don't want to forget these guys because they help me out a lot. Sunrise Vapor Blasting, FastGuyStuff.com, and of course, Ben's Vintage Mini Bike Podcast. And once again, thank you, Steve Grandis from Bultaco East. Every week, Steve is giving us a special, which comes shipping included with a sizable discount. McGregor controls, $180 down to $145. A couple of weeks ago, Hagen shocks. How much they list for? $280, $229, shipping included. Last week, we have a very, very limited, in fact, they're no longer produced, McGregor 314 Duo Throttle. Regularly $46, just $36, shipping included. What do we got this week? How about this? Bader shocks. When was the last time we saw NOS Baders? Bultaco Alpina number 85 fits the Alpina model 85, 89, 115, and so on. List is $375. It's like $90 off. $289.95. Wake the kids, phone the neighbors. That comes shipping included. Thank you, Steve Grandis, for all you do for us here at Vintage Motocross Q&A. Did you know This is a segment brought to you every week by Jeff Kokoski. And did you know? It's on WD-40, which is something that is in everybody's garage and or under their sink, guaranteed. So we're going to get on with it right now. Jeff, I want to thank you for making it so easy for me to read and leaving out all the formulas for WD-40. But here it is, WD-40. Everybody knows WD-40 is. It's a miracle lubricant, rust preventative, penetrant, and moisture displacer that is virtually every garage in America. But did you know how WD-40 came about? Our story begins in 1953 with Ivor Norman Lawson and two fellow employees invented a formula while working at the Rocket Chemical Company in San Diego. The spray, composed of various hydrocarbons, was originally designed for the Convair division of aerospace giant General Dynamics to protect the outer skin of the Atlas missile from rust and corrosion while sitting in the salty coastal California air. Lawson came up with a water-displacing mixture while working in his garage and turned out the formula over to the Rocket Chemical for a paltry $500. Rocket Chemical president Norman Lawson, not to be confused with the original inventor Ivan Norman Lawson, saw the potential consumer use for this product after he heard that Convair employees were sneaking some of the product home in their lunchboxes and using it around their homes. By the end of the decade, Rocket Chemical started packaging the product in aerosol cans for sale to the general public. By the early 60s, the product began to take off literally. Major airlines like Delta and United began using it. In 61, when Hurricane Karl hit the Florida Gulf Coast, Rocket Chemical shipped a truckload of WD-40 as disaster relief for rain-damaged equipment. By 1968, the height of the U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War, Rocket Chemical was shipping 10,000 samples of packets to Vietnam. Soldiers are using it to keep their equipment lubricated and protected in Southeast Asia. Then, in 69, realizing that they had sold one brand of the company, the president, John Barry, officially changed the name from Rocket Chemical Company to the WD-40 Company. The company would go public in 1973. 20 years later, in 93, WD-40 was said to be in 4 out of 5 homes. It was one of the 10 most profitable companies on the NASDAQ Stock Exchange. So what about the name WD-40? Water Displacement 40th Formula. Apparently, Ivor Norman Lawson spent a lot of time in his garage, and that's how he came up with the formula. In fact, the original copy of the formula moved to a secure bank vault in San Diego in 2018. What is now WD-40 is about 1/3 mineral oil, and the remainder is mostly blends of aliphatic hydrocarbons. Aliphatic hydrocarbons are nothing more than a type of solvent with a low vapor pressure and insoluble water. WD-40 Company products consisting of the original WD-40 and the variants 3-in-1 oil, lava hand soap, hot shot, hand cleaner, as well as household cleaners, now sold in 176 countries throughout the planet. You often hear it said you can only do 2 things in life: duct tape and WD-40. If it moves and it shouldn't, you duct tape it. If it doesn't move and it should, use WD-40. The popularity and universal use of both products is unmistakable. Thank you so much, Jeff Kokoski, for that wonderful little write-up you do. You do a great one every week. You've done like 55 or 60 of them for us by now. I love them. Sirius Studios. Oh, did you see the video I put up the other day? Larry Winters, a great guy. Very, he's very philanthropic too. He helped a lot of guys get a start down there in North Carolina. He went on to race himself, and he came up with this really great product, off-road gear, off-track gear rather, Sirius Studio. I love the fabric. You're going to love it too. It breathes. It's made of cotton. Comes in great colors. Hand-stitched logos on there. Just a great way to go to, make your statement that you're in the off-road world. You know what time it is? BRAP! That's right. It's BRAP Suspension. Roger Neff has sent in another video this week. I love the Roger Neff videos. He's very enthusiastic, and he also comes up with some really great information for us to share on the show. So, Roger Neff, without any further ado, let's see what he's got going on this week for Vintage Motocross Q&A. Where are you, Roger? Oh, man. I fat-fingered it. Add to the stage. Here we go.
Hey, Brappers, how you guys doing? We're out here in the Brap Shop. Today we got a great segment for Joe Abate's Vintage Motocross Q&A. Today the topic is building a old Yamaha monoshock to go out and do the Battle of vintage enduro racing. Let's go through what we've done to this shock. First, we're starting out with a Race Tech mainspring and their tender spring and collar setup. This is the best way to respring your monoshock on your old Yamaha. Second, we sent the shock body and shock reservoir out to Sapphire Metal Coatings in Caldwell, Idaho. We had those hard anodized, just like we did the forks for this bike. Here we've got the nitrogen hose, or the hose attached with a new washer and some Teflon tape, so that doesn't leak. Some little vapor blasting on some parts here, done by Dean at Fast Blast and Coat in Garden City, Idaho. They do Cerakoting and powder coating as well. Here we've got the shock shaft set up. We polished the shock shaft here in the Brap shop. We've got a new bottom out bumper from Race Tech, a little vapor blasting on the plate here. And then here is a nice single clip seal head from Race Tech. If you've ever built a monoshock, getting the shock apart is an extreme pain. It's sandwiched between two of these circlips, and it's really tough to get out. You got to kind of squish a piece of rubber to get that out. We also cut the spacer in half to give this shock a little more travel. And actually, I didn't cut it in half. I made a new spacer out of a fork lowering spacer. And here we have the legendary Race Tech gold valve with a nice shim stack built around the rider and their riding ability. Like you do with all Race Tech products. So great way to build a monoshock for your old Yamaha. This shock with the hard anodizing is going to stay cleaner longer. It's going to have less friction. Less friction means less heat. Less heat means better performance over the duration of the ride. Since this bike is going to be racing enduro racing, that's really going to add up. You know, motocross bike, vintage motocross, you're only on the track for a few laps. But enduro racing, that shock's going to get hot and be running for hours on end. So this is a great way to upgrade your vintage motocross shock. And vintage motocross forks is hard anodizing. Great way to cover the bare aluminum. Bare aluminum contaminates oil very quickly and creates heat and so on and so forth. So great upgrades for this shock, let alone with the Race Tech gold valve. You know, a new bottom out bumper because it was totally destroyed, and the polishing of the shock shaft, it will help with friction reduction. And then the spring setup. This is definitely the best way to go. The springs on these bikes are notoriously soft. Back in the day, you know, they're still sorting out suspension systems, and Race Tech's definitely got it set up that works super well for these vintage bikes. So you guys keep it brappy and enjoy the rest of Joe Abate's Vintage Motocross Show, and we're going to go back to work here in the Brap Shop.
Thank you, Roger Neff and the Brap Shop. He puts a great video together every week. Be sure to visit them online. When I say online, I guess I should be saying on Instagram. Got a page full of videos of things that he does. Roger Neff, entertaining and informative. It is now time for This Week in Motocross History, which is brought to you by Racer X. It was for the second time in 1970, since the season began, Suzuki, new to the world of motocross stage, put a whipping on the 250 class, this time at the Grand Prix of Belgium. Home riders Sylvain Gabors and Joël Robert went 1 and 2 with fellow Belgian and soon-to-be Suzuki teammate Roger De Coster, third on a CZ. 1971, Steve McQueen was one of the biggest stars in Hollywood at the time, but he was also one of motorcycling's biggest fans. He was well known for the motorcycle scene in The Great Escape, as well as his starring role in the documentary On Any Sunday. In 1973, he'd shoot a commercial for the new Honda CR 250M Elsinore, which would be like Leonardo DiCaprio doing a commercial for a new KTM. Leonardo DiCaprio and KTM. It's hard to keep that down. Okay, here we go. 1979. Kawasaki-mounted Brad Lackey vaulted into the lead of the FIM 500cc World Championship, standing with the overall win at Thiers, France. Bad Brad went 3-1 to take the points lead from British Honda rider Graham Noyce, and that's Graham Noyce right behind him, right there in that picture. All right, that about wraps it up. I got a few announcements, then you guys can go and enjoy the rest of your evening with the announcements that we have. American Classic Racing. Here's their schedule. Got the best tracks going on the East Coast. ACR, American Classic Racing. They'll be at Unadilla, Southwick, Broome, Tioga. 1 down, 2 to go. Scott Burnworth's SoCal Vintage MX Classic is still happening. Debbie has taken the reins, so to speak. They got one in the books at Paris. They got another one coming up at Verona. That's just 18 days away. Verona MX round 2. You know, to find out where all your ARMA events are, go out to your ARMA page. But the Northwest schedule has been out for a while. But there's a Southwest, Southeast, so on and so forth. Go out there, check them out. You'll find out where all the races are coming from. Vintage Motocross Q&A sponsorship opportunities are still available. Full Circle Racing has been with me for over close to 5 years now. Vinco, 4 years. Motion Pro, over 4 years. Bultaco East just got on board. There's a lot of supporters. There's a lot of people getting behind the show. They're making donations. They're sharing the show. They're giving us product like Mike McCook and Motorcyclist Illustrated. We're doing good. We're getting out there. We're reaching over 1,200,000 people every 90 days. Not bad. Get a hold of me. We'll put a sponsorship package together for you. You'll see some results just like all of these sponsors are seeing right now. In the meantime, I'm Joe Abbate. I've got a dog here that... Gina! Where are you?
Gene.
Come on, Gene.
Oh,
There he is.
and bone.
All right. That wraps it up for Vintage Motocross Q&A. Thank you, Roger Neff, Terry Good, of course, Dave Boys, and everyone who watches the show. Congratulations to the winners. Don't forget to send me your... You love me, Gino? Don't forget to send me your mailing address, and I'll get you out all the goodies. We'll see you next time on Vintage Motocross
Q&A.
Q&A.
Good night, all.
Good night.